This is not a video about quantum computers. This is a video about the 5-year head start Ripple just handed XRP on Monday, while every crypto channel was watching Iran headlines. The price moved less than 1%. The structural position moved by years, and 10 days from now, the Federal Reserve decides whether that head start shows up on the chart or waits until summer. So let's break it all down. On Monday, April 20th, a senior director of engineering at Ripple named Ayo Akinyele published a 4-phase document. One target: make the XRP ledger fully quantum resistant by 2028. That is 2 years before the United States federal government's own deadline for its own national security systems. Here is what that means in plain English. Every cryptocurrency on Earth is locked by math. That math has been unbreakable for 30 years. A regular computer trying to crack it would need longer than the lifetime of the universe. That is why crypto works. A quantum computer does not play by those rules. It could break the same math in hours. In March, Google's quantum research team published a paper. The finding: a quantum machine powerful enough to break Bitcoin's cryptography is 20 times closer than anyone thought 6 months ago. 20 times. That is not a software update. That is an earthquake under the foundation of every digital asset on this planet. Every major blockchain heard that news. Now look at how each one responded. Bitcoin is the most exposed chain on Earth. Over 34% of every coin in existence, 1 out of every 3 Bitcoin, is sitting in wallets where the public key is already visible on the blockchain. That is the exact data a quantum machine would need to derive the private key and drain the wallet. On April 14th, 6 days before Ripple, Bitcoin developers published a proposal called BIP 361. It is still a draft. The Bitcoin community has not agreed on it, and the co-author, a researcher named Ethan Heilman, estimates that even once Bitcoin does agree, the full migration takes 7 years. 7. Ethereum's plan targets 2029, and under Ethereum's design, every single user has to manually move their funds to new quantum-safe accounts. Manually, one wallet at a time. Now watch what Ripple did. Phase 1 is already live. It is called Q-Day readiness. If quantum computers arrive before the migration finishes, the XRP ledger can force a hard stop on old signatures and move funds to safe accounts without needing every user to act one by one. Phase 2 is happening right now. Ripple's applied cryptography team, Dr. Murat Senk, Dr. Tamas Visagrady, Dr. Anchal Malhotra, is stress testing the standards approved by the United States government's cybersecurity agency. A Ripple engineer named Dennis Angel has already deployed quantum-safe signatures on a Ripple test network. Not theory, running code. Phase 3 lands in the second half of this year, post-quantum signatures running side by side with existing ones on a developer test network. Phase 4 is the final amendment, full transition, done. Now, if I stopped here, you would think this is the most bullish news of the year. I am not going to do that. Stay with me, because the exposure number is the part that actually changes the investment thesis. Here is that number. An XRP Ledger Validator audit this month measured how much of the current XRP supply is exposed to the quantum threat today. 0.03%, 0.03%. Now compare that to Bitcoin, 34%. Before any migration even starts, XRP is already 1,000 times less exposed than Bitcoin, 1,000 times. For years, the argument against XRP has been one line. The company is winning, the token is waiting. Ripple signs banks, Ripple wins in court, Ripple builds infrastructure, but the token never moves because it has no structural advantage of its own. On Monday, that argument lost a leg. Because quantum resistance is not marketing, it is a compliance requirement. The United States National Security Agency's framework, called CNSA 2.0, requires every new federal national security system to be quantum safe by January 2027, full application migration by 2030. Ripple finishes 2 years before the government's own deadline. Bitcoin does not have a start date. Ethereum targets 2029 with manual migration. This is the first time since 2018 that XRP has a structural lead in its own code, not in promises. Here is the part of the video where I could lose some of you, but this channel was not built to tell people what they want to hear. Let me show you the force that could swallow every bit of this news for another 2 months. 6 days from now, April 28th and 29th, the Federal Reserve holds its final 2-day meeting under Jerome Powell. It is his last. He is stepping down. And every major Wall Street firm is forecasting the same outcome. Hold. J.P. Morgan's chief U.S. economist, Michael Feroli, wrote it last week. His exact phrase, quote, "An easy call for the committee to stay on hold," end quote. Morgan Stanley's Michael Gapin is projecting the first rate cut in June, possibly September. One number explains why every economist agrees. In March, headline consumer prices, what everyday Americans pay at the store, jumped 0.9% in a single month, the biggest monthly increase since 2022. The cause is sitting in the Persian Gulf. Oil is near $98 a barrel because of the Iran conflict. This morning, April 22nd, President Trump announced he is extending the Iran ceasefire. XRP jumped 1.77% to around $1.46. That is exactly the reaction you expect from a risk-on asset when geopolitical fear drops. But Trump's statement has a condition. The extension lasts only until Iran submits a new proposal one way or the other. That is diplomatic language for "we are paused, not peaceful," and the pause has not brought oil down. Think of the Federal Reserve as a ceiling over every risk asset in the world. The ceiling does not move until oil moves. Oil does not move until Iran is truly settled. That is why XRP has been stuck in a range for months. Fundamentals set the destination. Macro sets the timing. Between April 20th and April 21st, Ripple itself moved 75 million XRP across its own wallets, about $107 million. Roughly 50 million of those coins were routed to wallets connected to the U.S. exchange Coinbase. The data is tracked by a public tool called Whale Alert. The price barely moved during the transfer. Transfers like this from Ripple are routine. Ripple uses XRP for on-demand liquidity, which just means moving money across borders in seconds instead of days. But $107 million 6 days before a Federal Reserve meeting is a specific number. Traders are watching it. At the same time, the XRP daily chart just printed a MACD crossover. The MACD is a simple momentum tool. It tracks whether buyers or sellers are winning. When it flips positive, buyers are taking control. On the daily chart, XRP's MACD just flipped bullish for the first time in 3 months. The previous flip was January 6th of this year. The day after, on January 7th, XRP rallied 25% in 1 week and peaked at $2.40. That was the biggest rally XRP had all year. The same signal just appeared again. Now here is the calculation nobody on this side of crypto Twitter is running. Put the 3 chains on a calendar. Bitcoin's quantum proposal is still a draft. Even after the Bitcoin community agrees, and there is no deadline for that agreement, Heilman's own estimate is 7 years to fully migrate. Ethereum's target is 2029, with users manually moving every wallet one at a time. Ripple finishes by 2028, and the XRP ledger already supports native key rotation, which means holders can swap vulnerable keys without moving their funds. Ethereum does not have that. Bitcoin does not have that. Line those dates up. By the time Bitcoin even agrees on what to do, XRP is already done. By the time Ethereum completes its first major migration upgrade, XRP has been secure for a full year. That is not a marketing claim. That is a deployment schedule with signed code on a live test network. The rank order of quantum safety across the top 3 chains just inverted on Monday. And here is why I still cannot tell you the move is guaranteed. Structural wins do not translate into price until the macro ceiling gets out of the way. Above the current price, XRP has 3 firewalls. Each one was built by a different group of sellers. The first is at $1.50, where the 100-day moving average sits. That is the line every algorithm watches. The second is at $1.65, the measured target of a cup and handle pattern on the 4-hour chart. The third is at $1.75, the upper edge of the monthly range XRP has been trapped in since February. To break the first firewall, price needs volume. To break the second, it needs a catalyst. The third needs both. Here are the 4 signals to watch before the Federal Reserve speaks. Signal 1, Powell's language on April 29th. Not the rate decision, the language. If he uses the word patient, that is dovish and XRP lifts. If he uses the word persistent, that is hawkish and the ceiling holds. Signal 2, the Clarity Act, the legislation that would finally give XRP a clear legal status in the United States. Republican Senator Tom Tillis asked to delay the committee vote to May. The banking industry, led by the North Carolina Bankers Association, is lobbying to block it. White House crypto advisor Patrick Witt publicly called their lobbying, quote, greed or ignorance, end quote. Senator Cynthia Lummis warned on April 11th that if clarity does not pass before the November midterms, crypto regulation waits until 2030. Watch for any markup announcement by May 9th, Signal 3. Exchange-traded fund flows. In April, XRP exchange-traded funds pulled in $64.5 million. 98% of that happened in just 6 trading days. The Bitwise fund took in $39.6 million. Franklin took in $22.7 million, but Canary Capital, ticker XRPC, which was the leader back in November, took in only $445,000 this entire month. The buyer composition is shifting. If weekly inflows stay above $50 million for 3 weeks, that is a trend. If they drop below $20 million for 2 weeks, the January outflow pattern is repeating. Signal 4, price. If XRP closes daily above $1.50 for 3 straight sessions, the MACD flip is confirmed by price action. If it breaks below $1.40, the signal is canceled. You don't need to guess. You just need to watch these signals. Here is where it ends. Ripple just handed XRP a structural head start that Bitcoin and Ethereum cannot close. And the Federal Reserve is about to hold rates one more time, with oil at 98 keeping a ceiling on every risk asset in the world. 10 days decide which side wins the month. Tomorrow on this channel, Kevin Warsh takes the hot seat. He is the man President Trump nominated to replace Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve. His confirmation hearing will give the market its first real read on what monetary policy looks like after Powell. We will know by market close whether the hearing moved rate futures, and that is the first data point of the next 10 days. Do not miss it. This content is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Fundamentals set the destination. Macro sets the timing. Stay sharp. Stay informed.